We do have, I forgot to point out, our school-wide literacy week, wildly important goal, and it's in the main hallway. And so we're grafting the STAR data, which sometimes, you know, looks a little scary at times, but the winter benchmark, we just got up there and, you know, kids are going up and they know, you know, that that's something that they need to really continue to work on and grow as readers. So we want 80% proficiency by the end of June of K through 6. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Donna.
At this time, no one has signed up to speak at this meeting, so we'll move to the consent agenda, which includes minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting of January 16, 2018, minutes of the special Board of Education meeting of January 26th, special education report, treasurer's consolidated report, budget status report, and district financial report for December 2017, single audit report for the year ended June 30th, 2017, extra classroom activities report, financial report for year ended June 30th, 2017. If I could have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next on the agenda tonight is curriculum with Carrie Class. And if everyone could turn on their microphones, please.
Okay, the one item I have for tonight is authorization for OHS, the high school journalism and yearbook club, travel to New York City, March 13th through the 17th for a trip to Columbia University. There's no cost to the district. The students will be traveling by train. They'll meet in Syracuse 8:30 in the morning and return March 17th at 10 o'clock at night to Syracuse via train. They're going to Columbia University to learn about putting together a yearbook and journalism, and they'll also be doing other side trip adventures, which might be to go see Broadway. And Heidi's here tonight if you have any questions, deeper questions. She did tell me there are 13 students signed up at this time to go. There's no cost for the students. The cost for the students can be fundraised, or there are even scholarships for students that might need help to attend the trip. So they really don't want to exclude any students. So we're really trying hard to help students that might financially have a problem.
And so it's open to any of the kids who are in journalism?
Journalism
and
and
it's just they
yearbook.
choose if they want to go or, yeah, so.
Harry, how's the number 13, how's that compared to years past?
Heidi, how is that number 13 compared to years past that have signed up?
It's about the same number
Same?
as years past.
Any other discussion? Motion?
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next is personnel with Dr. Salimi.
A is a professional staff retirement amendment for Lori Ewell. She was previously retiring on the Friday, which was the 19th, and we've moved that out to encompass the next week where she did continue to work at KPS.
Any discussion? Motion?
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
B, professional staff recommendations, leaves of absence. These are all related to maternity leaves.
Any discussion? Motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
C is a professional staff recommendation, probationary. This is a high school math teacher replacement for Lee Lorian, who just retired, and Megan Cullen's information is attached. She is available to begin effective tomorrow if it's approved this evening. She was doing some long-term subbing in the Eville district.
Any discussion?
Will she be there until the end of the school year?
Yep, this is a probationary appointment for Lee Lorian's retirement. We've been looking for a math teacher over the last couple of months, and it just took us a little longer than we thought to find a good candidate for us.
So then, prior to her being hired, then we had a long-term sub filling in from the beginning of the year? Or when
No,
did her
he actually
retirement
just
start?
retired a week
Or he
ago.
just left?
Yep, during Regents Week, right at the semester break.
Yeah, we anticipated that.
We saw it coming, so you've been
Yeah.
searching for a
More,
while.
more and more teachers are retiring either on their birthday or other odd times throughout the year. Very often teachers don't wait till June 30th anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could I have a motion? Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
D is a professional staff recommendation of probationary teaching assistant appointment at the high school. This is for a new need we had for a teaching assistant.
Any discussion? Motion?
Move it.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I should probably circle back and say Mr. Wallace is attending a meeting this evening. Normally, we would invite him, and Megan Cullen, but she'll be here to be introduced in a coming meeting. E is a professional staff recommendation, a regular substitute. Last meeting, we approved Ashley Skasha to move from Fitchie Park to KPS to replace Laura Yule as an art teacher. And so Justin Tosis is going to be filling in for the regular sub position that Ashley had been in. So he'll complete the remainder of the school year here at Fitchie Park.
So INI is what?
Initial certification.
Oh,
A motion, please?
okay. Move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
F is a school psychologist intern. Typically, you'll see a name come forward at this time in the school year for the next year's school psychologist intern. And so this appointment is for the 18-19 school year.
And
They-
where will this intern be providing services?
She'll be working under Dr. Garudo at KPS, but they often split services depending on building needs. So she'll be spending some time, I think, at the high school and at KPS and perhaps other buildings.
And this is something every year?
Yep.
When you enter, and then they just go wherever the need is?
Correct. Tends to be the person they're working under directly who will supervise their day-to-day work, which will be John Garudo at KPS. But then oftentimes we see them joining other things in other buildings.
Or they might have a desire to get a middle school experience and maybe do some assessment at middle school, consulting on maybe an issue or a case at the high school or vice versa.
It's typical, it's typical for a paid internship?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
And all, well, it's not very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
And what's like how much is it, the entire school year?
The entire
How many
school year.
hours does it last?
Full-time.
Oh, wow.
15.
So for $15,000, we're
It's
getting,
not, okay. It's, yeah, right. I get
It's a
it.
good benefit.
I thought it was just,
It gives them the required.
That happens
Right.
every time.
Are they
I
out
see.
of like
I see.
SUNY Oswego?
Yeah.
Is that so that's like
different universities, depending on, there's a psychologist intern fair that tends to go on a couple times of the year. Actually, Ms. Hamshow is a doctoral candidate through Syracuse University. So
Do we know the history on which colleges and universities send us interns more frequently?
Typically, we have utilized SUNY Oswego for a few different reasons this year. The intern candidates through SUNY Oswego didn't quite pan out, so we would like to stay local when we can. In this case, Ms. Hamshow sort of came to us almost by accident, but in a really good way. Dr. Bruto had a connection once we had exhausted the SUNY Oswego pool. And so usually it's Oswego. Occasionally we have branched out to other universities, but in this case she has a doctoral candidate, so she's already got a master's degree in school psychology.
which is a really nice benefit to our students.
Oh,
This is, becomes Puerto Rican.
She does.
Yeah, that sounds good.
If I could have a motion?
Move it.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
G, extra compensatory position recommendation for OHS athletics. There are 2 coaching positions for a modified assistant track and field coach and a varsity assistant track and field coach.
Any discussion? Motion?
Move it.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
H is an extra compensatory recommendation for the Oswego Middle School, another addition for an after-school study table detention supervisor. You've seen others come through, and every once in a while, there's a late addition. There's either a need, or maybe somebody isn't available as much as they thought they'd be.
Any questions? Motion?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I, extra compensatory recommendation, the Empire State After School Program. This is the grant that we've been talking about for the after-school program for the last few meetings. So we're moving forward some after-school homework helper names, and they'll work on an as-needed basis between Fitchie Park and Layton School.
And just, I think I asked you earlier, when this actually goes into place, is it this?
February 26th.
Okay, that's what I
I'm sorry, we cannot hear when board members are speaking, so we can't hear the questions you're asking.
So I asked when the grant would be starting.
Thank you.
Stay there. So the answer was February 26th, that the
Thank you.
grant would be kicking in. So thanks for pointing that out.
Motion, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
J are the two team leader positions to help coordinate the grant position. So it's Nick Little here at FPS and Tom Wiegand at FLS.
I just had a quick question when I read the backup on here, and I'm guessing it was probably just by accident, but one of them said it was like 1 hour per day, and the other one said 5 hours. I don't remember that. I can open it up right now.
One session per week, 1 hour per week, 1 hour of planning, and then the other one says TBD, 5 sessions per week. I think the confusion is with Tom, it could be 5 sessions per week, meaning 5 after-school sessions per week. And Nick was thinking more of 1 team leader session per week. Because the program is relatively new to us, there's just some discrepancy with how they put it forward, but it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other, so they're supervising some of the after-school, and they help coordinate with OCO, which is our community partner, and with Carrie and with Nancy in terms of overseeing the program.
We're more of a conduit between OCO and our school district. They're going to help plan projects, just talk about what's needed in the buildings. So they are really creating their time when they're going to meet. But if they're more they won't be working with the students directly. They are just working with OCO and going back to the schools.
Like the liaison.
Yeah, they're a
between-
liaison
Okay.
between.
And I only asked just because I mean,
Yeah.
they were the same title and
Yeah.
the same stipend, and I just was like, well, why is one 5 and one's 1? So,
Not the same structure, but
Absolutely.
they're dealing with
Doing
it
the
in
same.
each.
How they
Yes.
can, yeah.
right, okay, that makes sense.
Linda,
Yeah, Dr. Sweeney, can you, and if you can't, that's all right, I don't want to put you on the spot, but where are we with team leaders throughout our district?
so we do have some team leaders at the high school. We have a 7-12 special ed team leader. We don't, correct me if I'm wrong, Carrie, but I don't believe we have any team leaders at the elementary level this school year.
What about middle school? Do we have,
Not other content besides special education.
okay, so even the elementary buildings do not have team leaders?
Not
either?
this school year.
And we
But
took
we
that.
do have a K-12 music team leader.
Correct.
Yeah,
that
so
would
I'm
be dealing
talking
with
about
reaches.
the
Not-
ones we used to have.
Not like the old
No,
days,
not like the old days. We took that out of the budget 2 years ago.
at least.
I
And then-
wondered if we had,
We brought some back. We
I
we
thought
brought
we
back
did.
half of it, and then between the communication between, I don't know if it was Wallace or it was probably
It was Heidi and Mary Beth.
Heidi and Mary Beth,
Yeah.
is that you guys decided as to what the real demand was for those team leaders, and it
I thought that was
landed.
for clubs.
I think those were
There was-
Yeah, you're-
clubs.
okay, okay.
yeah, that was for
Yeah,
clubs. But
right.
my concern is with us getting into the budget season, again, I would like hopefully to have some discussion with the building principals to see what our need is and how they've managed without team leaders.
Absolutely.
Because I think it should be part of our discussion.
Though it is, Linda, and every year when we do the budget, Nancy and I, she's already started meetings with department heads. We do that first. Then we meet with building principals, ask what their needs are. We also do presentations for faculties. 2 years ago is a good example when we pushed into buildings and said, what were the most painful results of the 16-17 budget? And they were honest. You need to bring this back. You need to bring this
Yeah, and
back.
that's what I'm hoping we do again, because
And we'll continue
I
that.
do hear things, you know, and if there's a need, I think it should be on our list of priorities to have open discussions about it, but I think there needs to be a lot of communication now.
We know
To kind
there's
of
a-
go along with that, do you, like, is there a form that, like, a building principal would fill out that says, like, these are the things that I would like, so that, like, they can think about it and have it down on paper,
And we have-
it's documented, and then, you know, it's something you guys could refer to, and, because I mean, I think the meetings are a great idea too, but it's just another piece of
As a building
clarity.
principal, I would prepare my needs, want to haves, and kind of pie in the sky items.
Right.
And then I sat down with Nancy, with Dr. Gui, with Pete, Miles over the years with Brian, and we would really work through, okay, if I have X number of slots or X amount of money, what gets me the best I need for my building at this time?
And I think that's great. I'm just saying that if everybody had the same form that they filled out, then, you know what I'm saying, then they would all know.
For example,
How to handle.
one area that we know of is that Mary Beth would like to bring some content area content team leaders back to the middle school. So we know that's going to be at the top of her list this year. when
Well,
we
you know, and that's
different
really
things
something
across the board.
not only there, but I know the elementary also. The other thing is Dean, do you participate in the admin meetings, or does all your information come through the girls?
We have a variety of admin meetings. We have administrative council, which is everybody in the same room at the same time.
That's including you?
Yep, I lead, and then I push in the secondary meetings or elementary ed meetings when there are agenda items that I want to push, but they're typically led by the executive director that leads that division. So it depends.
So then, okay, this is all.
Yeah, I mean, this is all good discussion, I
Yep.
think, as we're going into the budget. I'm just wondering what the communication is between we always call them your sergeants, to
Yes.
Dean, or if he's participating so that he's hearing
The other
some
thing-
of the concerns and
Yeah.
having a say in some of the discussion and whatever.
I think the other piece that's important to point out that's very different than the cabinet that I worked in as an assistant. When I worked as an assistant superintendent, cabinet was every Thursday at 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
Cabinet under my administration is every day at 9 o'clock. So the level of communication at central office is significantly heightened. In fact, many days, those meetings happen multiple times. I'll say, Karen, gather the cabinet, or reach out to them. because
and your
there's some-
cabinet is this
Yes.
right there.
And we have such close proximity now that it makes that so much
Yeah.
easier. And sometimes it's just to bounce an idea off, sometimes it's to get feedback about a project that someone's working on. That might be something came up at the chief's meeting that I want to disseminate quickly. Sometimes it's done by email, like today I got something from the court system, a stay away order. And so I sent it immediately to Heidi and to Carrie, because I'm not sure what level the student is at. And if I read everything that comes into me, I don't need them. So I send it out to them then, or then they'll come back and say, oh yeah, this is the, and so there's a lot of communication back and forth.
I know when you build a new team,
Yeah.
which this is, it's a new team this year, you know, that I wondered, you know, what the
Yeah.
communication level was.
In the old days, the building and director level meetings were called curriculum council.
Yes.
When I came into the assistant superintendency, I changed that to elementary principal meetings, secondary principal meetings, and I led them. Superintendent never sat in those
Oh,
meetings.
he didn't.
Never. But admin council, however, is different. That's everybody. That includes Dave and Jane and Tom, principals, directors.
And
It's
that's
a more,
what I was just going to
That's
ask.
the
is-
one that I think you should leave.
yeah, that's the one I lead. That's a more comprehensive
And
meeting.
so how often
And
do
is
you
that
all
once a
meet?
month?
That's monthly. Yep.
So then starting in July, then
Every
you
month.
guys, so every single month you guys all.
For example, next month, or I don't know if it's this month or next month, we have the police chief and the fire chief coming in to do a presentation to Evan Council. Sometimes they're visitors, sometimes there's an agenda. We front load the agenda items with the items that are relevant to our non-instructional directors, like transportation, food service, so that they're not sitting through a long conversation about curriculum-related things that they might not have any interest in.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
You know, if you couldn't respond, it was just a question I wanted to talk to you about.
That would make, I just have one, because now I'm thinking, because this is all like new information. So then like after, say, when you guys have a cabinet meeting, and so then you give information to Carrie and Heidi, then how does the information get from you guys to the principals or whomever?
They lead the elementary principal meetings and secondary principal meetings, and sometimes they're combined. Sometimes that also brings in the directors of special education and student services. Sometimes I communicate directly with principals if it's something, principals, I like to interact with principals.
And that's on a monthly basis too, or is that just as a, that you guys meet like?
Well, we have a monthly set principals meeting, and we run it over 2 or 3 hours, but we break it up, so we have secondary, combined, elementary. And so that way people can come and go, and we don't, maybe make the elementary people sit through an hour and a half of Regents testing discussion. So there's the group to talk about the elementary items, then there's the group that's pertinent to everybody, and then there's the group that's maybe just the secondary folks.
And the agenda always sits in Google form, so the agenda as we build it is visible to everybody that's included. And then the notes are recorded back onto that Google form. So they're in the room having a discussion, but they also can visit the Google form if they weren't able to attend.
And they put items on as well.
Yes. they
No.
I just know the 13 years that I was administrator, I always had a direct route to the superintendent. I didn't have to go through, I knew the chain of command, but I always had a direct route to talk to the superintendent directly. If it was something
Right.
that was a burning issue in my building, and I'm hoping that is something that's in place.
They call and email me all the time. I meet with Dr. Volkemer and Dr. Doty the most because they represent their unit. They're also people that I've worked with the longest, so they're more, they pop in or make appointments. This Thursday I have lunch with Mrs. Fierro. It just depends on the need.
Yeah.
And they're in regular visits to buildings.
I
where
think it's
see
going to
people
be,
talk.
that was the other thing too, was that, are we frequenting the buildings right now too to get a bird's eye view of, with the budget season coming up, what they believe their needs are.
Yep.
On item J, if I could have a motion,
Move it?
second,
Second.
all in favor,
Aye.
opposed.
Okay, support staff recommendation, a resignation. Craig Stevens at the middle school is resigning as a school monitor, but he is working on his teaching certificate, teaching assistant certificate, and that's kind of in transition, so he should be probably coming to you shortly for one of those positions.
Any discussion? Motion,
Move
second, all in favor,
Aye.
opposed.
L, support staff recommendation, leave of absence. Melissa Sorrell, who's a typist, she just moved into the benefits clerk position, so she's taking a leave of absence to serve in a second title. And Mary Jean Turpinning has a leave of absence. She did already return to us this week, kind of unexpectedly, so there'll be an amended leave of absence notation on the next agenda. And that was for medical.
Any discussion? Motion, second, all in favor,
Aye.
opposed.
M, support staff recommendations, probationary positions, 3 school bus drivers as presented.
Any discussion? Motion?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
N, support staff recommendation, permanent contingent, Samantha Cleveland, typist. She's replacing Melissa Sorrell. And she'll be hopefully starting at the end of the month.
Any discussion? Motion?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
O, support staff recommendation, permanent appointment, Christina DeStevens, a teacher aide at KPS. She completed her probationary period, so she's moving forward to a permanent status.
Any questions? Motion?
Move it. Second.
All in favor?
Just a question.
Sure.
This is effective December 19th. Is there a difference in the pay?
There was, yes. So when she completed her probationary period, we just needed some of the paperwork sent over to us to be able to bring it forward to you all, but it will be
Goes
effective.
retro.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And P, our typical round of substitute and temporary employees as presented.
Any questions? Motion?
Move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next on the agenda is finance with Nancy Squires.
A is for the board to accept the 2016-2017 corrective action plan for the extra classroom activity fund audit.
Any questions? Motion?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
B is for the board to accept a grant award from Terra Science and Education. This was, Jim Hartman had applied for the grant. It's for science and education for Frederick Layton in the amount of $4,037.65.
Any questions? Motion?
Move it.
Second. We both did it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I have all good news on my side today, all of these great things. C is for the board to accept a grant award from Target, and that is for a field trip to WonderWorks in March in the amount of $700, and again, that is for Frederick Layton Elementary School.
Any discussion? Motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
D is for another donation from Harbor Freight Tools for Oswego High School design drawing class. This was a grant that Chris Wood had put out for. He's getting $1,000 donation for tools for his drawing for production and principles of engineering class.
Any discussion? Motion?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
E is another donation from Donors Choose. This was from Tom Wiegand's classroom for flexible seating in the amount of $792.01.
Any discussion? Motion?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
F is a donation from the Buccaneer Boosters for $4,900 to be used to support the wrestling program. It's going to be used for wrestling mats. The other $2,000 is going to be coming out of the athletic equipment budget.
Any discussion?
Move it.
So that was, so 2,000 was Buck Boosters.
No,
2,000.
$4,900 is Buck Boosters, and $2,000 is we're actually taking out of the general fund from Rhonda's budget.
Great, thank you.
Sam, motion, could I have a second?
Second.
And,
It's-
all in favor?
It's actually, because it was 2,000 from the Buck Boosters, $2,900 from the,
Budget.
the wrestling
Oh,
account,
okay.
and then 2,000 from the district.
The
So-
wrestling account under Buck Boosters.
Correct,
So we
yes.
lumped the two.
So lump the two together. So the 29 was from the wrestling,
right.
from their own account. And then the Buck Booster said, we'll give you 2,000, the district gives you 2,000, and then that will cover the cost of the fence.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We can't keep, we're on a roll with donations, can we keep doing donations?
Yeah, right, keep it going.
Yeah.
We send out thank yous, right, from our office? Yes.
G is a budget amendment, and that is to the equipment line for athletics for $4,900 so that we can purchase the wrestling mats.
That's the money we just talked about.
That is the money we just
We have
talked
to change
about.
the budget line to add the donation to it.
Any discussion?
I see.
I don't have a
So-
discussion about that, I'm going, my brain's still thinking about Linda's comment about the thank you notes. I'm huge on thank you notes. So like if we, so we are doing that, like, is it one or the other, like how, so Karen, you said, so then that's how you keep track, checks and balances and making sure that everybody's, awesome,
Great.
thank you.
H is for community use of school facilities.
I'm sorry, Nancy, I haven't got a
Oh, I'm
motion.
sorry.
Could I have a motion, please?
Move it.
Second?
Second. Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
H is for use of school facilities, Oswego Town Fire Department. They're using the gym for volleyball.
Any discussion? Motion?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I is budget transfers. There's two different sets of one. The first one is to transfer $8,600 from contractual in transportation, $900 in contractual for transportation, and $3,000 from contractual to from transportation into their equipment line. This is the balance of the new radio system that we're having, where we were shorting that account from the estimate that we did when we were doing the budget last year. So the $8,000 should get us, the $8,600 is for the radios and the buses. And the other money is used for a diagnostic computer system to, for the mechanics to diagnose the buses.
Any discussion?
Yeah, so the transfer 8,600 is, when you say contractual to the equipment, it's just an equipment, this is a one-time expense, it's not an agreement, because I remember there was a pretty healthy agreement that went along with those
Correct.
radios.
That is correct. So there were two parts for the radios. One was for the equipment, which is all purchased off of state contract. And then the second piece is actually a contractual line for the service.
Right.
And the reason that we had extra in the contractual line is because we had budgeted for the whole entire year. We thought this was going to go into place in July. Now we're putting into place, hopefully they can do it over one of the breaks to get all of the radios uploaded into the buses and to start the service. So we did have some breakage in there so that we could pay for the rest of the equipment.
And how did we fall short in the equipment? I mean, if it is a state contract, we know how many buses we got, we know what it takes, or what
There were additional radios for the schools so that they could talk to the bus garage that we didn't anticipate for. So
you
when,
just had it coming out of transportation to the buses.
correct.
You didn't have anything from,
We want principals to be able to talk to the transportation.
and probably Ed Center too.
Yep.
Right.
Yep, exactly.
Right, okay. So that's where, so we're just moving our money a little bit. We had some left over.
Yes.
We can, allows us to do those things.
Mhm, absolutely.
Can I have a motion, please? Move it. Second?
Second?
All in favor? Opposed? Dr. Yu, I have to apologize, I skipped over the
I
superintendent's
know,
report.
I'm okay.
So at this
I'll be
time-
all
I
right.
have one more, Karen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, there one more transfer. One more transfer. It
Another
is from-
donation.
No, it's not a donation, I'm sorry to say. It's a transfer for $5,970, and that is from state aid software to state aid equipment. Our technology director wants to use that money to purchase 30 iPods to use for the Google Expedition Kit for teachers for instruction with students. Any discussion? Motion?
Move it.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? At this time, we'll go to the superintendent's report.
All right, I only have a few items tonight. Donna, and where's Donna? Oh, there's Sharon. Thank you to you and your staff, and certainly to your students. You know, shaking a lot of hands during flu season made me a little squeamish, but I'll get over it. But the tour was great, the kids were great, the school looks great. Thank you for that. I've been completing a lot of capital project presentations over the last 3 weeks. And the most recent one was last night to Buck Boosters. It was a pretty nice turnout, actually. A little less than 20 folks there, but a very interested audience, and that was exciting. I wanted to announce, too, for those of you that don't know or haven't gotten tickets already, that OHS drama and musical departments are doing Sweeney Todd this weekend on Friday and Saturday, and those programs are always really good. And next week, I'm hosting the OHS Superintendent's Lunch, and this month, it's Oswego High School musicians and athletes together. We're going to talk about the impact of the capital project on students and have them talk about what this capital project means to them, not only in the condition of their teaching and learning spaces, but the other things that we're hoping to build into this project as well, and how those things create a hook for students to come to school and be happy and become lifelong learners.
Are you going to videotape that?
Yes.
Yes, good.
Yep.
So when is that going to happen?
It's next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
We also taped the February Dean and Dane show last week at the Oswego High School in WBUC, and we had a really great conversation about the capital project, and
Should be out this Friday.
we're out this Friday?
Yep.
Great. And I hope that everyone's been watching those. We have a really talented program at our high school, and this really highlights that. Dane Richardson and I sit down each week, each month, either in the studio or over at the Education Center. Last week, it was a conversation about our literacy initiatives this year, and Sherry Beck, our literacy coach, came in, and we had a conversation about the literacy task force. You should watch that. And this month we're talking about building on new things that are happening in the district, and then we get into a really good conversation about the capital project. So I look forward to seeing that come out. Friday. And this is the most recent. This is the Doppler for tomorrow. And I received at least 5 emails or texts today about the snow day calculator.
Yeah.
There's this thing, and it's about 99%. So superintendents, we agreed we'd start chatting at 4 a.m.
Start tonight.
Yeah, so not to get you excited, but so it'll be an early morning. Well, this one said, the most recent one that Anna Marie printed for me before we left them over, originally it was supposed to hit between 7 and 9 a.m., which is challenging. But now they're saying that it's going to hit us between 6 and 9 a.m., which is far more helpful. But superintendents start our email chat at 4 a.m., and Tom Gunn will wake me at about 4 a.m. And I have my laptop in the bed, the dog, and the cell phone, and my code book. So I can literally call the TV stations and call the snow day from bed. Because once I'm up, I'm up. I have the nuclear codes and 3, 5, 9, and 10 and 10. So I'm very hopeful. We've used 3 and we have 2 more. Yep. But 2-hour delays are free. But they don't help getting the kids home safely in the middle of the storm. So, thank you.
I don't think I agree with that.
They're not, but sometimes it gives our buildings and grounds staff, Dave Crisafulli and I talk, and Tom Gunn and I talk, and they talk, and sometimes they go out on the roads together, and there even has been an occasion where I got picked up by Johnny Pierce, and we toured around the district at 4:30 a.m., and so he could point out the problem areas, like the east side, south of Bridge, is problematic for buses. So sometimes it's a combination of balancing some extra time that's needed to clear our facilities out under like really heavy snows like that Wednesday before Christmas. Or it's all a timing, but I think we've gotten it right almost every time. So.
Next on the agenda is items from the board.
I have one, yeah. Dean,
Yeah.
do we have a program for our teachers if they want to engage in the CAS program, getting help from the district and doing that? Or is there a program? So I remember us talking about this.
It's not really there are a couple different opportunities that I think you might be inquiring. Jamie, is Jamie here tonight?
Yes.
Jamie, can you talk about the scholarship program that you completed your CAS under?
I kind of ended though.
But talk about it
State
because
funding.
it was something that we used to get.
It was kind of a partnership, I guess you'd say, with all of Oswego County and in general central New York for targeting particular areas, looking for CAS candidates. And it went by a recommendation type thing, or process, I should say. So I think there were like 34 or 35 teachers recommended from around Oswego County, a lot in Syracuse as well. I think 12 of us went through the program, but it was through SUNY Oswego, and it was actually part of a state grant.
But we don't have that anymore.
But the state grant funds kind of dried up, so.
That was
do we
one.
have anything?
Yes, we have some others. Another one is an opportunity for teacher leaders to move into educational leaders through the CNY LDP, which is through a Lemoyne program. Maybe Nancy or Heidi could talk about how that works, where they delay their payments and they pay a portion and then we build them back.
So if I were to suggest to, teachers that are asking me about it, would I send them to Heidi?
Yes. You could
Would
send
that
them.
be okay?
Yeah.
Of course. All right.
Yes. But probably their first contact would be their principal.
And then
Yeah,
Heidi
and then on up. Now, there's another vehicle, and I probably should mention that last week, I spent 2 days at Cornell for the Oswego County School Chief Administrators Retreat. Once every year, all 9 superintendents and the district superintendent go to an off-site location for a 2-day workshop where we talk about how we're going to build capacity in our county. Venues like that are where we build programs like regional high school initiatives or advanced placement. One of our topic this year, and has been, and we have done a few workshops in the past about building leadership capacity because there's a significant shortage in school and district leaders, not only from the principalship, but all the way up to the superintendency. There are significant shortages, and we want to bolster and encourage those within our districts to move into leadership, particularly females, quite frankly, they're in the superintendency. So we spent a lot of time planning for how we were going to do some recruitment and encouraging of administrators to go into administrative programs. However, the cost is typically theirs.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, just like yours was and mine was.
Yeah, but I knew I had thought we had something and it probably was.
There is an item that sits in the administrator's contract, AAP, that says that they may receive full tuition reimbursement for postgraduate study with the permission of the superintendent. And we've had employees that have had tuition reimbursement for doctoral programs through that program. We haven't had anybody go through that. I think the last administrator to graduate was Dr. Duffy, who received tuition reimbursement for his work at St. John Fisher College.
I think it would be exciting because I know we have a couple that have talked to me about it, but to support that.
Yes. Right now, I can give you another example. I don't know if she really wants me to talk about this, but I will. Mary Beth Fierro applied and was accepted into the New York State Superintendent Development Program, which is a collaboration between New York State Superintendent's Council and SUNY Oswego. And that's an 11-month program from January to November. I'm a graduate, Heidi's a graduate, Linda's a graduate. We have a lot of SDP graduates in our district. It's a preparatory program for school and district leaders who are interested in the superintendency. And they work in a cohort model with a superintendent. In the Mid-State North team or the Mid-State team, we have one in Pulaski and we have one at West Genesee. Heidi's a graduate of the SDP West Genesee cohort, and Mary Beth is in the West Genesee cohort currently. We pay for that. I've agreed to pay for her SDP training.
Awesome. Okay. And
And because we're able to run it through a COSER at BOCES and
Yep.
receive aid back, so that the total cost of her superintendent development training year, which is a great program, I went through it. My mentor was Dr. Ellis Kendrick from Janesville DeWitt. It allows us to build leadership capacity in our district and pay a much smaller portion. So it allows them to go and we can support them with a much smaller price tag.
and it says a lot for our,
Yeah.
our district and supporting our professionals. So one more thing, I also want to remind everybody about the musical this weekend. I've had the privilege of having 2 grandchildren over 8 years participate with Mr. Heater and Mr. Dumas. What those 2 professionals in this district do with our kids and the talent is unbelievable. I would love to see that auditorium packed for 2 nights. I'm sure it's going to be outstanding like it's been year after year. Sadly enough, both of mine are gone on to college, but you'll see me there because it's just fantastic.
I just have a couple things. We have to make a decision on whether we rejoin CNY School Board Association. So I
Can
know
I
that-
jump in just for a
Yes,
second?
yep.
Because I knew you were going to have this conversation. This has been something I know you talked about at the special board
Yes.
meeting. I know there was a request to Karen to gather some information. So Karen and Nancy and I have been gathering some information. I have a packet that I'll give you guys for your conversation. The first one is a 10-year look back that Amy had asked for not only New York State school boards, but CNY school boards. And then also some membership information that Karen was able to generate for CNY and New York State. Let me just give you a little snapshot from my recollection of how this has unfolded. I came into the superintendency in Oswego in the fall of 2015. And right after that, we got into the budget kind of crisis thing. But prior to my coming in, the district had pulled out of New York State school boards. That was before I came. But I have a strong belief that we need to be professionally engaged in associations that support your cause and provide professional development to you and professional conversation. So I came to the board in the spring of 2016, those of you that were here then will recall, and I advocated for the district to come back into the New York State School Boards Association. I had met with them, and we entered into an agreement where we would pay a half-price registration for that year if we bought a service that would look into our finances and identify some missing state aid, which we did. And Nancy, how much did we?
They were able to get us another $120,000.
Right.
We paid school aid specialists like $12,600.
Yeah. So when you look at on the left column it says New York State School Boards, you're going to see that there's no membership paid in 2015, but you'll see in 2016 that the membership was half. On the right-hand column, at the same time, there was some conversation at the board, as I recall, in the spring of 2016 about, well, if we're going to join New York State School Boards, which is pretty expensive, is there some duplication of the service that they provide? We don't need both. So you'll also see that now, so we went back into New York State School Boards and paid them on July 19th of 16, but there was no payment made to Central New York School Boards in 16 or 17. So that kind of brings you up to speed. kind of what, kind of how this whole thing
You know,
unfolded.
one time thrown into the mix was the small city schools,
Yes,
rural schools.
Right.
We were involved in that too.
right. We pulled out a rural schools consortium, and we're not members of small city schools, but they invite me to their events, and I attend their events at the New York State Council of School Superintendents conferences, even though we're not members. I go to their events anyways. They let me.
So is your I'm sorry.
I think you're asking my question.
Yeah, I'm not gonna make a recommendation because it's your association, it's for you to have a conversation, but I thought you needed that history,
Right,
the
because
insight,
he and I
at
had
least
talked,
from the
that's
last
what I
couple of
said.
years.
Right.
Get the history, so at least we can have this conversation with the background.
I will tell you that I went to their CNY host events, I went to their legislative event on Saturday morning at City. That's the type of thing that they sponsor. I know there's a lot of conversation and outreach, but short of that, it's your association, so it's really, there is money to pay for the association. It's up to you.
There's a fee that goes along with it. But also, the New York State one is the one who found us some money, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and they found us $120,000. Is that a service that they continuously provide? Are they always searching, or what?
This was a partnership with school aid specialists and the School Boards Association. They don't partner with them every year.
Okay.
It was a one-time deal that they were offering. So we did use school aid specialists. They did find us some money. It was in our special education filings, but it's really not something, a
Is it-
service that we are going to use year after year.
Are they typically a board that helps in other ways, not just that one specifically, but do they offer different grants, or do they find us money, do they find us savings, do they? Yeah,
And
I got it.
advice,
Train
especially
and a
for-
lot of advocacy, Jen.
like,
Yeah, and I-
used to all the
Yeah,
time.
Well,
and that's what I
that's
said
what
to
we
Jim.
found,
that,
yeah.
Like, I think that I see benefits in both
Both.
organizations, because like things like evaluations and articles and stuff like that, like I seem to get a lot of that from the New York State, but I also like the accessibility of the guys with CNY, and then I know them, like I know Charlie, you know,
You
and know
make a phone
Rick
call.
Timms.
What-
It's easy to just,
But Amy, what do they give us for an added fee that New York Schools?
Because I always use New York School.
I mean, the only thing I
That was
don't know,
called that.
back when I first got on, they had the new board member, that was good.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 or 3 evenings, we had to go through that. Now I understand that's available online, so we really don't need to send people up there.
but we had
I
that
would-
discussion the other day, and
Yeah.
I don't think that we should be
I don't
doing
think
it
the online
online.
service is near
I
as
think-
valuable
yeah.
as sitting in a room with a group of new board members trying to figure out what it is that their goals are.
But are
And-
people going?
They-
One of the-
Well, you have to go.
Did you
We
guys
went,
go?
yeah.
That's
We went
it.
to
We
different-
went with CNY because that's just how it got set up. But the New York State is the online product that is available.
Right.
Could I
CNY
And it was a good opportunity for us to network. I mean, this is where we met
Yeah.
all those guys from
If we ask
CNY.
this,
And
if we're members of CNY and that new school board is offered, is there a fee to that? Because members would go for free.
Aaron?
For the training,
yeah,
Training.
you have to pay for both, either you go
So we pay
Central
membership, but
or
we gotta pay a
New
fee
York
to go
State.
too.
Brian and Brandon are doing the online for New York State school boards because at the time they couldn't go to the ones,
CNY
What was
offers.
on
well, New York State school boards offered for them to go, but they just couldn't go at that time, so they offered online.
Yeah.
yeah.
So they both do it.
So we gotta pay a fee to belong, and then when the training comes up, we have to pay a fee to go to the training.
So it's not a discounted fee if you're a member?
It's a discounted fee. Yeah, for both.
Uh-huh.
Who else would be going? Who else would be going to the school board?
If
training
you
other
didn't
school
belong
boards?
to either one of those associations and you were a new board member, you could still attend their training.
Right,
But
so
you
if
would have to pay the full price.
Right. So there's schools that aren't members of either organization who still have the state requirement of
And they're
going to
paying.
these,
Correct.
and that's what they did.
Okay, but if we didn't join, and we wanted to send new board members to the training,
Yep.
what would be the difference in cost? I mean, if it costs a little bit more to you go.
I think
the
it's
training, you gotta pay a
$100.
little bit more, but you gotta pay $6,000 when you want. So where are we at?
Which is $12,000 to belong to both of them, right?
16.
Almost
Oh.
17. 17.
Yeah, it's 17 bucks.
Yeah,
I think it's crazy if you want to go. But I-
And also, if I could mention, if you did join Central New York School Boards at this time right now, it is prorated for the end of the year. But if you join next year, it's the full.
Right. So the next year we could
we
revisit.
wouldn't want to do it now.
Well, you could join now at the prorated amount and be members of CNY. I went to their event, and we're not members, and they were very welcoming, but they want us back. And it was a great event. However, what we do need to know what your desire is for the 18-19 school year relative to memberships, because we have to build it into a budget line for board,
Right,
CNY, New York, or both.
right.
So we could prorate, pay that year, we could pay $200, he's making it now. And what are they gonna do for it now?
other than talk.
Training's gone, that's gone, you can't do that. Legislative practice is gone. Nothing there really
Well,
for us to do.
The city BOCES annual meeting is coming up in dinner, and that's sponsored by Central New York School
Right.
Boards.
And that is awesome.
Yeah, that's a 20,
That the city annual dinner meeting that we've attended in the past,
Oh.
out at city BOCES, that highlights our students.
I don't know, I personally, I mean, I see, like I said, I see benefits in both. I definitely tend to deal more with the local, Central New York, I just do, because I'm comfortable with them, I know it, and the fact that we are a newer board, that I think that it's absolutely imperative that we belong to one or the other, or both, and we utilize these and all. I mean, I know I utilize them all the time, and I hope everybody does too. And I think going forward, even thinking about the budget, I think that we need to really kind of put goals on ourselves.
Majority of the information you have gleaned off is coming from your school. Not from CNY. Most of the stuff you shared with us.
It's been,
Well,
yeah, it's been there, well, it's been from both, I would say.
But it's available whether you're a member or not.
Right.
The information that you're gathering from NYS is
I'd
available.
rather see that money go to putting a team leader back in.
How do they differentiate the difference if you're a member or you're not? You just can't go to the functions and the, you know,
I don't know the answer.
I mean, they're not gonna withhold.
They let me walk in, they were
Yeah.
like, rolling out the carpet for me,
but I also think that they had to do with the conversation that happened last year and the understanding that they thought we were going to rejoin this year.
Probably,
So,
it's probably just kind of pricing, I think, like if we were to go to the training, it's $100 more. Versus
I think that it's important to stay in New York State School Boards Association, because that's the, at least that, and the only reason I advocate for that is because that's the overarching association that most, I would argue, probably 99% of school districts in New York State are members of New York State School Boards. They're also the sponsor not only of a lot of professional development, but also the annual New York State School Boards Conference that over the last several years we haven't attended, but you should consider doing that. So if you're going to start attending New York State School Board's conference, we need to know that as well, so that can get built into the budget, because that comes with some costs.
that's what I was just
Yeah.
about to say, that we need to, as a board, talk about like goals going forward and what we want to do, like going to a conference and making sure that we all are, you know, knowledgeable and up with, you know, everything. So, I don't know, I mean, I definitely, I have.
I just think it's a lot of money to belong to both, when in fact there's such great need in the district.
I agree, and I hate this, I can't say that I could feel good about spending the money. I know CNY has been great to us, and I have a personal relationship with it because we developed just by the training. And to know that you can be on the other end of the phone with somebody and snap of a finger and a response and a quick answer and help guide you where you need, that's where we found CNY.
So then basically, I mean, if we decide that, then if something were, like, if hypothetically had a question, now it's find a go-to person on New York State.
New York State
Exactly.
will be, they'll be as open to you as Central New York.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll make your own connections through them. I've called them several times when I sat in that chair, you know, that I got confused about things, and they were always wanting to talk to me. Not when you were here, but when the others were here.
Yeah.
So for the last 10 years, we've been a part of both.
Until 2 years ago with CNY and
Right.
1 year with NYS. 15, 16 with NYS, the board pulled out. Then I came in and said, please, let's go back to that. And that's when they said, okay, but not both. Then we're out of CNY. That's
So
when
yanked CNY, went back to
Yeah, we went
NYS.
back to NYS
So
and
it's
pulled
always been
CNY. Yeah.
Well, it looks like we get half price if we skip them for a year. We just tell them we're not gonna go, maybe they'll offer us at half price. That's what it shows in 16.
The biller did.
If we get a donation,
Yeah.
16 was when we used that service, right?
Yes. That's
why-
why,
that's
that's
why
why
we
it's
had this
$5,000
comment.
ticket.
Right.
Yep.
So I would, is there?
And they wanted us
option to
back, right?
Inquire about that service again, or do we not look at that again?
There is basically for state aid for special education, they found money that they thought we could get. And we also subcontract with BOCES to do our state aid stacking for our special education students so that we can get all the state aid that we are entitled to as a district.
so up until we contracted with that company to find us that money, there were some things that we weren't doing.
Yes,
And now, since then, they found us the money, we corrected our
correct.
brokerage, and now we're doing the right things. There's possibly no money out there.
Do you remember the report, Sam?
I do.
Where they did identify some areas where we weren't billing for Medicaid
Yeah.
properly? And we did a corrective action, and then we implemented some new procedures through the special education office. We started generating a lot more aid on special education.
I mean, they
And we
kind of
started our hiring process.
That's right. That's right, all our SLPs now are able to do the Medicaid billing. So,
Probably not more money out there. Yeah. My suggestion is stay with New York State.
I mean, I totally get the money thing, I guess I'm just hung up on the part that, you know, last year the conversation was that we would rejoin, and so they're kind of like hanging, waiting, like, oh, you guys said you were gonna rejoin, and now we're not, so.
Well, you
that's-
say we can't financially because we have other things that are priorities right now. Things shift. You know, but I mean, we're down secretaries.
Oh, I'm not arguing any of that, I mean, I
Yeah,
completely agree
I mean,
with
I
that.
can't
guess it's just-
justify doubling up here, I just can't.
Just for a contact.
do you want to,
Make contact in New York State.
would it be helpful for us to reach out to the other component districts and see how many districts are in both?
I
No.
just can't see
Okay.
paying that kind of money. Not when there's needs that we've cut in this district to run the district efficiently.
Well, and the other thing is sitting on the School Board Associations for Central, or for Oswego County. And I know, like Charlie goes to a lot of those meetings, so like that whole thing for me is awkward too, because it's been this
He's such a
ongoing
nice guy, just tell him I can't
conversation.
afford it.
I talked to him
Blame it on
Saturday.
me,
I
was
talked to him
told
Saturday.
to do it.
Say, well, those knuckleheads, those other 6 knuckleheads wouldn't go along with me, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, you just
Good.
say Linda reneged. You know, I was one that said we'll probably do it, but the superintendent that I said that under is gone. And
I wasn't there, I didn't hear it.
No,
Told I never
he said
heard
it was
it.
you.
He can
No,
say all he
said
wants.
it to me.
I never heard that I never made a promise that we were coming
No,
back.
I don't think
From
it
my
was a
recollection.
promise. I
Just
think
want that to
we-
be clear.
right,
I'm not reneging on
right.
something.
Right. Well, I just want to
However,
make
I
sure
don't
that
remember
everybody's
Jim's
clear.
name, but
I'll take
Right.
it.
Well, the other thing that,
I'll take the blame.
the other thing that I wanted to talk about was with,
It's a team, make it a team.
yeah, I went to the tour at Hutamaki, which, you know, within the Oswego County School Boards. His name is Greg Hilton, and he sits on the school board at Hannibal, and he also works at Hutamaki. So he put on the tour, and it was awesome. And basically, the tour that we got to see, all the school board members in Oswego County were invited, and the superintendents. It was a pretty good turnout. But what we got was the presentation that the P-TECH students get, pretty much, you know, tweaked a little bit. But it was so interesting too. I mean, I've never seen like a factory like that with the robots and like that was really amazing. And how clean it was and how organized they were. But the thing that really resonated was obviously, you know, doing what we all do up here and seeing the opportunity that they provide for our students through the P-TECH program was fantastic. And listening to them speak, you know, about what these kids are getting to learn and what they're gaining was just, you know, my wheels were spinning the whole time, just thinking like, wow, this is such a fantastic opportunity for our students. And like, how great if we can just continue like going forward, doing things like this and creating more partnerships with more businesses and creating more pathways for students. So we're not trying to fit all of our students in one, you know, mold that they're going to go to college, because that's not the reality of the situation. And so it was really awesome to see, and I was so appreciative that they put it together. And Greg was even talking about, he's like, it goes beyond the fact that, you know, we're training these kids to get a job, whether it's here or Novellus or, you know, wherever that they go, that we're giving them the specific skills that they need. He's like, but we are doing a lot of character training too, that's on an ongoing basis, and things that maybe these kids aren't getting elsewhere, they're getting here. And he said, for example, one of the kids said like, so, you know, what happens if, because these machines are going nonstop, like all day long. He goes, what happens if I just like got a job here and I went over and shut that machine off? And he looked at him and he said, well, after I fired you, I would, and he goes through the whole thing. And he said the kid just kept looking at him like, you'd fire me over that? And he's like, yes. So then he said to the human resources person, we need to put together a little bit of information on like protocol of how you behave in the workplace and what's acceptable and what's not. And it was just so in having expectations and that there's consequences. And he went through the whole thing that they did, and I thought, wow, this is really amazing. So I just hope that going forward that we do continue to think outside of the box and build those partnerships within our community to really give our kids choices, you know.
Probably the audience. Is my mic on? Can you hear me?
What? What? Is anyone talking? It's very hard to hear you guys when you don't speak into your microphone. I can hear Dean, I can hear Linda, I can not hear Sam at all.
Yeah, he doesn't have one.
Oh, that would be
But just to remind the audience that 2 years ago, a consortium of all 9 component districts and city BOE superintendents came together, and we wrote a huge grant and created a regional high school called P-TECH. And Huhtamaki is one of our industry partners, and Greg sits on the executive board with all 9 superintendents. And it's also Novellus, it's also Fulton Companies, and it's expanding and expanding. We've had 11 students in Oswego admitted over the last 2 cohorts to P-TECH. It's an opportunity for students from Oswego High School that get identified in 8th grade to go to city to the regional high school, and in 5 to 6 years they not only get a Regents diploma but an associate's degree from OCC. So that's just a little update on what Amy's talking about.
Who's there plans for taking up P-TECH at all?
No. The new plans?
I know Novellus.
No, Novellus.
Well,
Come on, Brandon,
Yeah,
get
we
on.
toured Novellus.
how much is that?
When we were building the program, we toured Huhtamaki. Now Novellus is a fascinating place to visit.
We already had, I think we already had our walkthrough tour.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really neat. I think it's a great opportunity for kids, and I'd love to see more pathways for our students.
It is. It's a great program, and aside from that, the Workforce Development Board is associated with it, and the plan the county's been trying to work with in the city, and in general, getting the districts to be involved with the plan that's out there is just one of the revolving pieces to make it happen. And you're absolutely right that when we look at, moving forward, having these options and these opportunities are huge. And I think they're doing a really good job with it. I think we are too, that we're becoming involved with it. But I think that's the piece that we need to continue to push, because, these are options that are out there that people need to know about. And realize that,
you know, to have it. And it goes to the shared vision of the county, city, and school districts to bolster employability of our students. Because there's some level of guarantee that if they successfully graduate from UTech, they're going to go to work for one of those companies.
Right. And
If
make
they
a good,
learn
and make
all
a
the
good
things
living.
and make a really good living
Right on.
in an area of need, with no student loan.
Right. It's,
And it becomes a win-win for both parties. The
Yeah.
company is getting a trained employee, and the student has
Right.
got a job.
Trained by them.
yeah,
They're
and that's
hired.
exactly what they were saying
They've
in
been there.
Funaki. They were like, this is great, because we're molding them to be exactly what we want them to be.
Because they all
And they
know
are
about
going to be
that. We
successful.
know that. And I love the pathways. Amy's right to echo on her. I know some of the kids, and the feedback from them is all positive. That, you know, that they have a different pathway. Because one particularly, we knew, his parents knew he wasn't going to attend college. He just was not geared that way. He loves P-Tech. He's so successful. His parents are so excited that this district brought this, it got involved and brought this to our kids. And I hope it can expand in the future because college is almost sometimes becoming unaffordable for people and they have to go to work. So this way, they're getting their foot ahead.
Right.
Because they're leaving school with that associate's degree and trained in that, whichever, whether it's Novellis or Hudamonkey. It's a fabulous program and if it can expand, it would just benefit the kids in this district tremendously.
Yeah.
Benefits our community in general.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
it keeps people here.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And I think that there's a lot of untapped businesses and potential partners out there. And like we've talked about before in meetings that, you know, with our, you know, fully prepared and life ready, like how fully prepared and life ready can we really make them if we ask the people in our community, what do you want out of our students when they walk out of the doors? What to you does fully prepared and life ready mean? And then you create those pathways that meet the needs so that they have a place that's, you know, they're ready to go to, so.
And that character education is something that we value strongly here at Fitzhugh, and that's something that we are teaching the students, and that is something that we are constantly recognizing to address, and that we are human and the students are too, and that this is what it feels like to be a good, productive, valued person in our society, and it starts right here at these kind of schools,
Yeah.
so.
And I definitely would want to commend you on that too, and thank all of you guys. I think you do a phenomenal job here, and I think that you hit the nail on the head. What you guys do here for your students to truly prepare them for life. I mean, that's immeasurable, and I think that's great. And I'd love to see more of that, you know, everywhere, because that's really what our kids need to be successful, is to understand how to just lead your life in a positive way and be a leader and make good choices and understand that there's consequences and expectations. So I think you guys are hitting it out of the park with that. I think it's awesome.
I agree because I got here a couple minutes late for the tour. And I had two students meet me at the door, and I broke away and got my own private tour. And Aaron, you got a great classroom. And I'm going to tell you that these two kids were so proud of everything. They had to show me every mural. We were counting penguins. They were so proud. And when we think of, if we want success rate, when you have a kid who's proud of their school and the work they've done, or what he did or she did or whatever did, it's part of it. It's part of the whole piece. And those two were, and I give you guys all the credit, because man, they were very proud, and I didn't care where the tour was, I was staying with them.
The student that gave me the tour of the Shark Cat, he, in the beginning, asked to sit out, did not want to do anything, and then he saw the other students who were kind of nervous to actually meet you all, and I didn't know where he was because he came to see you all. So he took the initiative to recognize that you were someone who wanted to see the school. And that is exactly how I felt too, because I didn't know if he wanted to actually talk or if he didn't want to say anything, but he took the initiative himself, and talk he did, so.
He did. He did a great job, thank you.
It was great.
Wow, that's great.
I could say the same thing for Daniel, who was my guy.
Right.
He never shut up. And you could see the pride as he talked about the PBS and all, pointing out everything. Folks are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to welcome the scouts. I see we have some scouts with us tonight.
Indeed.
Don't mean to put you on the spot, but I know it's an important thing in scouting to be involved civically, And it's exciting to see you guys here. Love Scouting.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome.
At this time, would there be a need for executive session? Okay. If I could have a motion for adjournment?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We may adjourn.